United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Like it noted that we do have a quorum. I'd like to thank the visitors for showing up. And I'd like to open it up for public comment.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Rita Hickson. I was at the last county board meeting, and my concern was about the Edgar County Housing Authority board members. And I know you said that you would take time to look into it and get back with me. I wasn't sure if that, if you guys did get the time to do that. I just kind of want to just ask if you guys, is this something that you can look into? Is this something that, you're willing to do? I just kind of like the Edgar County Housing Board members to be reminded what their roles are as being a board member and to really conduct themselves appropriately. And I care about what's happening to the housing authority and the undue stress that's going to the residents right now. So I'm just asking if this is something that I feel it's not right. I feel that John Hollis does need to be removed. I'm kind of worried about what's going on right now, just in the few short weeks that he's been in charge. And I just didn't know if it's possible to be reinstated, because for what happened November 20th really should be void, because the Open Meeting Act wasn't followed correctly. There was violations there. I have looked into that in more depth, and it is serious. It's they said there's penalties for the board members who violates the Open Meeting Act, which would include fines and prison time. So it is a serious matter. So I just don't know if this is something you guys could help with or not. So I guess I just kind of need to know that answer so I can go a different direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Frida. If you guys don't mind, I can answer some of the questions right now.
Yeah, somebody, one of us should.
Right.
Knock yourself out.
And please,
Yeah.
please, if you need to add something or several of us have the understanding of the board, which we said that we would look into this. We went to appropriate individuals. We also checked with the county clerk on issues as when you're appointed to the board, what your responsibilities are. We've talked to our state's attorney, and basically we are obviously concerned at how board members handle themselves. And we have, without getting into great detail, have been told that we really do not and cannot interject ourselves into the process that the housing board goes through. Now, we can question, them about individually about how would I say that? We can talk to certain board members, including the chairman, to make sure that we understand that what process was being followed, and make sure in the future that no matter what happens, that we give the proper instruction to the board members. However, they had counsel, which our state's attorney has informed us, and Rob Anderson is their attorney, and they followed what he said they needed to do. So it is very difficult for us to interject ourselves into the operation and day-to-day decisions that they make, when they have a lot better and are a lot closer to the information than we are. So we will continue to monitor and question a couple of people, but as far as action to mitigate or to reverse what they have done, this board will not probably be taking any action on that, okay? Because we can't micromanage that, or the health department, or 911. Those boards are appointed by us, and therefore they're not totally independent. They need to follow the same rules and regulations of Opens Meetings Act or FOIA or whatever else, so that's where our responsibility lays. Did I say that all right? I know it was kind of disjointed, Augie. Is that
I think that's pretty much
our state's
the way I
attorney's?
understand. Yeah, I talked to him.
Okay. So,
Understood.
okay. Any questions or, Carl?
So, I've talked to a couple of board members, I've talked to some other individuals, and I have some concerns on how things were done. And for us to, you know, if we're aware of some concerns, for us to say, well, we can't do anything,
We can't meet in closed session.
I totally understand that, because, you know, we'd asked the chairman of the housing authority to come today,
And then we told him that
and because of, I understand why he can't. But, you know, if there's some concerns that, and I feel like there are, I'm concerned about some things that's transpired. And for us to just sit back and say there's nothing we can do about it, I think we need to, well, we just need to talk to some more people, to get some more information.
would you like you and I to go talk to Dave about this?
And some other people,
That'd be
yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like Carl, I also talked to one or two board members, and I feel the same way he does. I think everything was done, my point, too quick.
We need to be very careful.
I
We've been
understand, yeah.
warned by the state's attorney that we can materially affect what happens from here on out if you follow my drift. So we need to be extremely cautious.
So, I think I asked this question last time. If we appoint the board members, I didn't realize we have anything to do with that anyway, to start with. That was my point I made to you and the board. But if we appoint the board members, then we should have some responsibility on what they do.
And I have a procedural question just about that, or how that actually.
And we have a
works.
question
Yeah.
behind you.
I don't think you guys actually appoint them, you approve of them.
Okay,
The board members that are currently sitting, if there's a vacancy, they bring you the names, and then you are to select through them and find the best candidate. And then, but the actual board members, I believe, get together and they, give you the names.
okay.
They actually just give us the name that they have
Oh,
chosen. Isn't that the way they do it?
Right.
And we just vote up or down.
We vote, yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. As far as if any legal action were to come against any of our boards, whether it's the County Housing Authority, 911, what agency actually covers those costs? Is it our insurance that we pay for, or?
No,
is
it would be
a separate
totally
agency?
separate. They have their own attorney, they're following, and from what I understand, carefully consulted, and
Who pays for it?
they have the housing authority.
They have a budget that
Yep.
covers that cost?
Yep. Well, then we'll, if, we gotta be careful about the open meetings and
Understand that.
everything else, so we'll, come back with more information. Anything else you would like to do?
Not this time.
Yes, ma'am.
I know, I only get a few minutes to talk, and I think when you talk to the other people, I'm sure it's more than 5 minutes. So there's a lot to hear from my side also. I'd like to discuss if
Okay.
anybody's willing to
Yeah,
listen.
that's fine.
Totally agree.
Would,
Yeah.
yes, that'd be fine, Frida. Okay, I don't mean to, I was just
No,
relating to
appreciate it.
you
I don't-
what
I have a
I'm
hard time
told.
understanding where our responsibility for that
According-
board, that's my point.
Mark is very clear about our responsibility. Now, if, you know, he can make a phone call to their attorney and check on things that they have done or not done, but as far as our responsibility, Mark is very definite about not getting involved in 911 or the health department or any of our other boards, okay?
The actions that we would be allowed to take are limited and would be severe, would be my understanding, basically. So And it's not a, you know, hey, we're gonna tinker with this policy or this change. It would be basically, my assumption is, we could say, we're going to appoint a new board, would be, my guess is our only kind of power. So that is my expectation, and so with that in mind, that, you know, gives us a limited number of things we can actually do. It's almost a binary response, a 1 or a 0. So, just something to keep in mind through all of this, so, and that may color your decisions, but, you know, we've got several members of the board that do have a very vested interest in what's going on here, and definite concerns with what's happening, insofar as what we can do to move, you know, things in any direction, you know, limited.
How is it that they're not limited, the Housing Authority Board?
Pardon?
How is it that they are not limited?
I don't know. Jeff, that's really-
We're not saying that they are not limited. They're a public board just like we are, and they have to do everything that we do. So, we're not saying that they've done right or wrong. I'm
But
just
they-
telling you they have followed their attorney's direction, and that's what they're doing.
And they have the mandate to manage and run the housing authority, whereas that's not our purview, right? So that was my
They do
point,
not.
right?
They don't.
They don't do the management is under the,
I'm using the wrong words here, but they're the ones most closely involved with that, whereas we are one step above,
I
right?
understand what you're saying.
And I think some of it comes down to ultimately, they are funded by HUD, which is a federal agency, not us.
The housing authority.
And there's probably a better way to put it, but whoever has the purse strings has the ultimate control in most cases. You know, they're not budgeted as through us, we don't provide them the money, we just help assign the board. And what kind of oversight HUD has with the individual local authorities, I have absolutely no clue.
I just thought I'd start with
And
you guys
that's
first.
fine, yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Yes.
I got another question if you wouldn't mind.
No, sir.
Is Mr. Anderson the board's representative or the Housing
Oh, no,
Authority?
that has nothing to do with the
Housing
board.
Authority.
No.
Our
So
state-
that's
state-
two
state-
separate
state-
entities, right?
Well, you mean the housing authority board
Who's-
versus the housing authority, or the county board?
No, the Housing Authority Board and the Housing Authority. Whose attorney belongs to which one?
I didn't know.
Rob Anderson is the attorney for the Housing Authority Board. As far as whether or not the Housing Authority has their own attorney, I don't
the
know.
housing authority attorney is Rob Anderson,
Okay, so it's both.
so.
There you go.
Wouldn't there be a conflict of interest there?
These are questions we cannot answer. That's why we're
No,
we're
single
on
lawyer at
a
the table.
day-to-day basis.
I
Trying to look
understand
strange,
that,
but
but you're planning
we are
on
involved
going
all
to some of the other members
in the running
and
of that.
asking them questions,
I mean,
and
we
this
are,
might
we
be
can-
something you might bring up.
Why do we?
Because
why is it-
confidentially, I talked to Rob Anderson with my concerns, so he kinda knows my part, but now he's representing the board, so he kinda already knows what was up in my head that was going on, so it's kinda, would be kind of a conflict.
Well, he is paid by the board.
The board's actually paying them, or is the housing authority paying him?
Ma'am, I don't know I'm not sure there's a distinct difference between that. Okay, the funds are probably all the same, all right?
I don't know.
All I know is they have an attorney,
Okay.
okay, that represents them.
Our state's attorney doesn't.
No.
Right,
Has nothing to do with
right.
it, other than to advise
Yeah,
us
besides us,
on
not
what
our responsibilities are.
what
not
our
what-
responsibilities
Yeah,
are.
right,
And that's what I indicated in August
Right.
to the state's
yeah,
attorney.
I agree.
And I assume I related that correctly.
Yes.
She good, Jeff.
Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
You're certainly welcome to stay, but if we're gonna move into other business now, okay? Andy?
Getting ready to kick off the Smart Lock project. And that'll be the last item, I assume the last
Yes.
item on the agenda, Augie,
Yes.
on the Wednesday's agenda.
Yes,
Want, have all the people from Sheriff's Department, Courthouse, Health Department, Airport, and they'll kind of lay out what the procedure is. I think there's a lot of items already been delivered here. I said after Aaron get a hold of this Chuck Hernandez, and they got a place where they could store, there's about 15 pallets of lighting. So I believe most of it, if not all of it's here now. So, and I know one thing I do wanna find out Wednesday is, when we were up to jail on Tuesday, when was that?
Friday.
Friday.
Days around maybe, one concern that I know Jeff had, they're gonna redo the new part of the jail. They're gonna have a company come in and I know that one of the reasons I was late is he had said that he didn't wanna have he goes, we'll not do the ceilings in the cells right now. And I said, because of the light, he goes, I don't know what the lighting's on. I said, no, you're not gonna do ceilings.
Yeah.
Same time. I said, Wednesday we'll know what the configuration of those lights are. And I said, get in there and take the lights out that are in there, drop them down, just let them hang right now. And yeah, we wanna redo the ceilings at the same time, so. We'll just know a lot more on Wednesday with everything's involved with it, so.
just so, as far as that's concerned, and I think Carl can tell us in, is that on the prime coat, although it's not exactly prime coat, we went ahead and told them to do everything that they intended to prime coat needed to be prime coat, all at once.
Yeah,
And not to wait or segment, you know.
they were
just-
gonna kind of leave some of the hallways out and
Yeah,
things, and said,
just-
no, just do
just
it all.
do it all.
Right. Yes. So, and I was a little concerned, someone has painted parts of that jail with the wrong kind of paint. I mean, you can go in there and scrape some of that off your fingernail.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a latex over an oil base or something.
Over a nice lead.
Yeah, over the nice lead paint. But it's my understanding now, Jeff said that they come in and they get all that off, clean all those walls before they put that epoxy. So, I'll be curious to see how that works when they do it.
Years ago, when we repainted it, they came and sandblasted everything.
Is that what okay,
I don't know, how they might do something different now, but that's how they did it before, sandblasted and then put 2 different coats on.
okay.
Well, if it's been sandblasted in the last 40 years, we shouldn't have any lead paint under it.
That's true.
No, can't buy that.
Yeah, haven't been able to.
And there's
since the
water
70s.
blasting out there now and soda blast, all different kinds of things that you can do. So.
so we need to make sure that Jeff's here, Tom's here, Janet's here. I mean, we need to make sure that that list of people,
You said Jeff, and Jeff.
Do I need to contact anybody
Jeff
all
Wood.
here?
No, I've sent out
Jay.
2 separate
Jay.
correspondences
Jay.
to tell them what was going on and when the meeting is,
Okay.
and, everybody has been notified of the meeting Wednesday.
and they're expected to be here.
So if anybody's
And
got any questions, come with them Wednesday.
But they already have, lighting people going out to various buildings today.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay.
And then also, they're gonna look at the building envelope, today, tomorrow, I forget exactly when it was, but, so they've already started to come and look around, just to assess, I guess, what
Is
they
Chuck
need.
the one in town?
He will be coming, yes. Now, he'll be coming to the meeting.
He'll be coming to the meeting,
He
you know.
won't be here looking at lighting and building envelope issues.
Do you know who the person, you say people are here in town today, do you know which ones?
No, he just said his subcontractors.
Sycamore people.
Subcontractors. So
Well,
it's probably-
they do
That's
the
one of them.
That's probably
HVAC.
Sycamore Engineering, okay.
Are they gonna do, I don't know who,
I thought they were involved in the lighting too, and
Wow.
plumbing.
They, certain aspects of it, there's different.
and we had a Sycamore person in last week
Okay.
that just asked to go down and look at the electrical. And so they were down there for about 20 minutes and came back up and said, thanks, we're
Some of the
done.
lighting is literally unscrewing a bulb and
Putting another one in.
NRG is the contractor for the building envelope. Maybe that's who's expected to.
Okay.
Which, you know, if we're having a
I noticed
kickoff
that
meeting
this-
Wednesday, it
this
would be
was
kinda
on
nice
the
if they could
sheriff's
walk
department.
around and look at it first.
Replace 22
I think
4-foot
Yeah.
bandwidth jail fixtures.
When you contacted the jail or the sheriff's office, did you make sure that Jay was aware that Jay needs to be there?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Shelter, I
Yeah.
think you've got several
Uh,
things.
We met a couple, 3 weeks ago, and this is what we came up with. The call out, I think some of you questioned would be overtime or not. But it will not count as overtime. I talked to Don at the treasurer's office. It'll be like a separate line or item, or you call it. And the main thing on that is emergency. I mean, if you got a dog standing out in the middle of the road or a dog running down the street, that would not be considered an emergency to be called out after hours. So Andrea and Linda will make that decision, but I have no idea how many call outs you'll have, but I don't think it's gonna break the animal shelter budget anyway, so.
And I'm fine with that, but I just wanna clarify. You know, they get a call out, and then it's their decision whether it's worth
It's
making
emergency
the
or not.
emergency run or not.
And then if they consider it's an emergency, then the sheriff deputy will have to go with them. Because I don't think.
Even if it's in the city of Paris,
Right, right. This is county, so it'll be city of Paris and the county. So, again, I talked to Don, it's not considered overtime, and I have a question on the donations that are given to the animal shelter. Can that money be used for this year? There's like
Yes,
$9,000 in donations
what
or
you-
something like that.
Yeah, there's no reason why it couldn't be,
Right.
as long as,
As long as it's
If
not
you-
specified by a person giving the money
Right.
to go to a certain bank.
Right.
Okay, so there's plenty of money in donations, I think, to cover probably a whole year of call-outs.
well, I hope so.
Yeah, and then,
Yeah,
well, I don't think they wanna be called out in every,
that would be like,
everything.
plague of cats.
Yeah, right, yeah. So that's what we came up with, and
and also on this call out, I guess she needs to sit down with the sheriff and the police chief.
I told her I would do that. I'll go to Jeff Woods, I'll go to the police department and explain what the call-out's gonna be.
Right, cause they call them out for
Oh, I know
Mickey
that.
Mouse stuff,
They need to be all in the same meeting,
right.
don't you think? The
Yes.
sheriff and them and say, okay, here's what,
And Andrea, it wouldn't hurt for Andrea to be there, so,
Oh,
right.
She'd do it, she's the
Yeah,
one, yeah.
right.
So we'll set it up.
yeah.
Okay. Job description, the only thing different on that is the, again, the one has a star bite, overnight call-outs, injured dog, dog bite, something like that. The rest of the job description has been in place for a long period of time, so that's the only new thing there, so. Second page on the, vaccination for cats, it only, I have a copy of the state law if you'd like to read it, but it only applies to domestic cats or cats that you have as pets. Does not apply to feral cats, otherwise I'd have to get 20 vaccinated, I don't wanna pay for that, so. So, and the only time it's gonna happen is if you take your cat to the vet and haven't been vaccinated, they don't have any paperwork, then it has to be vaccinated. Otherwise, the animal shelter has nothing to do with it.
no fees,
No
nothing.
fees at all. The shelter, only thing they'll have to do is try to keep a record of a cat that's been vaccinated. Otherwise, it's not gonna pertain to anything at the animal shelter.
Those tags, those like cattle ear tags, just big
Well, I
piece
don't
of
know.
plastic.
Yep. I'm trying to get my
So
cat,
they're visible from a distance, you're safe.
there's no way my cat's gonna get my carrier at 30 pounds and take him to get a rabies shot. So
So item number 16 on the,
Cats that look the same.
on the agenda will not apply, we can just have a simple motion to,
we will follow the state outline on it.
Right.
Right.
okay? So that will still work. And then, of course, we've got to approve animal shelter call-out policy, which is paragraph 1.
Okay.
We don't have to approve the job description, because that's a committee work,
Yeah, it's already,
Okay.
it's been in place for years, so.
so,
And then the sprinkler system, Andrew said they had a inspection a couple weeks ago, and the guy came in and said the state got ahead of themselves on that, so that's not even gonna apply to this right now, so
Okay.
not to worry about it. The only thing really is the, call out on the cat vaccination.
any questions of Dan or his committee? John?
Feel left out, but nothing.
Huh?
That's-
Well, everybody else has been talking a lot,
Oh,
Well, you've snuck in there a couple times.
yeah, you get your 2 bits in all the times.
Carl, do you have anything? Bill?
Nope.
Okay. Got the ambulance, airport. A lot of big things.
We're gonna talk about the airport.
Yeah? About the billing? We got 86,000.
Oh, yeah, I didn't wanna, bum us out with the $86,000 bill, but, project is complete, we just gotta pay for it. Our piece of the $1 million+ project comes to about $86,000, so.
Well, this payment.
Right.
What we did was, remember, we sent them the money, then they sent it back to us,
Yeah,
and then they bill us, so
Did we
it's,
get the money for the lights out there? Did we ever get that? 15,000?
no, that's gonna be on the next,
Oh, the beacon,
that'll be on the next project, which
Yeah.
is gonna be bid in January.
we have kept up a full court press of harassment. As it pertains to that light, so they know about it. And that was their plan, is this
Okay.
next project that should be, the letting goes in January.
Okay.
Had our meeting on Friday, I passed around a spreadsheet. Just FYI, I say no major things of note, everything seems to be going pretty smoothly. Of note, we decided we're going to forego ambulance committee meetings for a while, see how that goes, and if you guys can just come to study session with the spreadsheets, I think that'll meet everybody's intent. Speak now or forever hold your peace if you don't feel that way. But-
And we decide if necessary, we can always have.
Yeah, if something comes up major, obviously, we have, at any point, we can call, an ambulance committee, so. Just in the interest of everybody's time, figured that would be sufficient, so.
You mentioned when the water line goes to Chrisman, to attach on it and go to the airport, we talked about that or made any decisions on that?
So, if you recall, last meeting, to do what they were asking with an airport involves about $10,000 worth of consulting work, so that water line is going through the state's right away.
Okay,
So, you can
we
imagine,
can stay at the well, right?
what's that?
We can stay at the well.
Yeah, we don't,
Those are two different issues. One is whether they're gonna go over with the main line over our right of way.
which they're not.
Right. The other one is, do we want to take part in having a hookup
Right.
put in, and so we have it available for the future if we need it?
Those are tied together insofar as we had some leverage as far as asking for a reduced price with the hookup. And, the response to, once I told Bob and he had his full-blown freak out about that, was I'd say if we're interested in the future, if we ever decide we need that, best to let that go.
He's
for a
never
while.
happy about that.
Cause see, he's offering it to everybody else up and down the line.
Who gave him right away.
Okay. All right.
Free hookup? Or free,
What he was offering, but.
what is he offering to everybody else?
He's offering to put a stub
Okay.
into their yard. Now, if they go ahead and put a meter on it, then they've gotta pay,
Right,
but they were extending the,
okay, all right,
extending the water line up into the area, so
right,
in the future, you could put a meter on it.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay?
We're gonna do
We'll see if Chip gets some water, and then once they got that far, we'll.
Back off it.
But I mean, as it exists right now, we don't have, I mean, I have never once heard a complaint about lack of water out of the airport, so I'm not that concerned with it.
Unless we had an industrial park or something like that.
After my discussion with Bob, the last thing I wanna do is ask for a water line, cause
Well, that's not our
you wouldn't
fault.
believe the F-bombs flying back and forth.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I would.
I mean, it surprised you that I swear that happens.
Well, you can't touch him, his wife's even worse than that. They are funny. I spent a week with him.
Oh, okay.
He does complain about, I don't know what he's upset about.
Doggy?
Well, I explained it was the federal government that was telling him, no, not me, but he didn't
He
want,
didn't get
he
the,
wanted to complain about it.
On the, set dates, times, and location of county board meetings, you wanna, that's in your packet. I will note that we've shoved the, January meeting to the 15th because of the financial aspects of having the meeting earlier, considering how early it falls and the year-end problems or issues. So it is actually the third Wednesday, as I recall, because the first Wednesday falls on the 1st. So we're looking at the 15th, is that correct, Augie?
Yeah, we cut off the claims the week before the board meeting, and so that day is New Year's Day, so it's a holiday, and it has a lot to do with just the bookkeeping side of it from my office as well as Dawn's, so it, yeah. I'll leave it
And
at that.
Thursday, February 13th, that's moved because of Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and that being a holiday here in Illinois. So we've moved our February meeting to Thursday. So are there anything else that I need to highlight there?
No, I think everything else is okay.
So then you need to look at your study sessions and make sure you track on those, okay?
I assume the Monday, December 7th organization meeting, that's just a swearing in ceremony?
It is,
Okay.
and then the study session is gonna follow that. They're gonna both be at the courthouse, because that's
Okay.
statutorily,
Okay,
that's when
see
you
that.
take office. And so you're gonna organize first, and then at, I believe it's, what is it, 9:15 is gonna be your study session, but it's gonna be at the courthouse.
Okay.
So when will we have, and that's not you, but when will the highway meeting be in December?
Well, he's going to coordinate his calendar with ours.
Right,
Okay.
he'll come out.
They'll come out after we have ours, okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
I just
I
did
don't know the
something
2020
sneaky.
calendar yet, I don't know why I'm asking all
Oh.
these questions.
No, sure.
The last study session of this month, we have on the agenda to cancel that, unless you see otherwise. Bring that up to you. Cancel study session, number 12 for December 23rd.
we're canceling it.
Well, it's proposed to cancel it, we do not have to, we'll have to vote to cancel that.
Okay. I was just asking.
That's fine, I just, wasn't a decision I thought I ought to make unilaterally,
Is
sir.
there a chance of anything coming up that we would need to discuss?
It's,
I'm gonna be here anyway, so.
You're not gonna be here.
No, I'll be in Ohio.
go ahead,
You
Augie.
know, we're open
Yeah,
on Monday
it's
the
just-
23rd. It was just, we're entering the holiday season and things typically, not every department, but a lot of departments, things slow down and you get in holiday mode. And so I think it's just more of a question, do you want to have a study session or not? That's really the question. Do you want to cancel it or not?
Yeah,
So-
well, and my only and I don't care one way or another, but my question is, between SmartWatt and what's going on at the housing authority, is there going to be the chance of something that we would need to discuss before January, or just,
There's no known answer to that question.
You can, you know, you can always,
Get the word out.
we
And
can
the reason that we're
advertise
asking
that
now
we're
is
having one.
because we've been advertising that meeting for
right,
all
we have to
year.
approve,
We
right?
have to approve earlier we can't just decide to cancel it the last minute.
No, I
Waiting
understand that.
anticipation for that
Yeah,
stuff.
we got all kinds of folks. Any thoughts?
Unless you wanna leave it on the calendar and nobody shows up, then obviously there's no meeting.
Yeah. I won't be there, not you're gonna miss me.
We might be able to get something done if Dan's not here, so
Dan's
maybe
not
we
gonna
should
be
have,
here.
we should have a meeting.
I don't say anything. Unless it's important.
Whatever you wanna do.
Okay,
So we didn't decide anything, did we?
Well, we're also
we're-
gonna have a study session coming up. I'm trying
We'll
to,
continue the debate at the county board
Yes.
meeting.
Right.
the
December.
12th, or, yeah, the
13th.
13th,
yeah.
okay? Carl, any thoughts?
No,
All right.
So we're not gonna have a meeting.
No, we will decide that on
We'll
Wednesday.
vote on Wednesday whether we'll have a meeting. Think
Come here,
about it.
Dan.
Think it over.
About it in the meantime.
I just don't find out, I just asked.
To my point.
My mind's somewhere else. In the gutter.
Oh, well,
Do you have anything else, Augie, that's, okay.
I don't think so.
Conversation.
Okay, the last
Go
item
nowhere.
to be discussed is the resolution regarding the sales tax referendum. So, you have the old copy that in your minutes, or in your board packet that has draft on it. The first 2 pages of the resolution, the second 2 pages are actually what we would send to the clerk on that same proposal. And previous to that, we now have a new resolution that also has the sunset clause in it. Okay, so you have both of them. 1 or 2 of you asked that we at least take a look at what that would look like, so the state's attorney was good enough to give us a resolution that you already had, and then a new draft, although it doesn't say draft on it, to set this up, and then how many years, okay? So, discussion, because we do have to decide. Well, we don't have to decide, because that would mean we do nothing, but if we're going to plow ahead with this, we need to talk about it and figure out what we wanna do.
Question, once it's established, we can go in on any given fiscal year and decrease, or as long as we're inside whatever percent we set on the actual vote, we can do that at any time, correct?
That's my understanding, but I don't know exactly how that mechanism works. You would probably have to give notice to the Department of Revenue well in advance of that. And remember, your retailers probably are not going to take very kindly if you're bouncing it back and forth a lot.
Right, yeah. And as a voter, I would, even with that out there, I wouldn't expect that to happen. I just wanted to know about it, and here's why. So, something that came to light in the last discussion about this, and it may have been just at the last county board meeting, was as it pertained to, we are underfunded, not just as it pertains to the jail, but actually our deputies and just paying in general for this. So, in light of that, having a sunset clause on it doesn't make a lot of sense, because there's no expectation that in the future, we wouldn't still have those same issues. Now, I would say, I'm hopeful that under the right management and scheduling, it might be alleviated somewhat, but the numbers we were talking about, you're not gonna make up all that difference. So, we're in a bad place either way, so in my mind, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do the sunset clause, as appealing as that would be from the standpoint of getting it passed.
My point is, if we go ahead, plan on building a jail, and we have to bond, and at the end of the 5 years, we'll have the money to pay the bonds back,
Sure,
right?
sure, that's a definite concern too.
Or even a renovation.
That's what
Right.
I'm saying, yeah. If sunset clause, the money's not gonna be there after 5 years, so how you gonna pay for it?
Well,
You wouldn't even get any bonds to begin with.
I was gonna
because you
say,
said-
good luck getting bonds, if that's what you've got.
Oh, by the way, we don't know how we're gonna pay for these in year 6 or
Most
whatever.
people don't even understand probably what a sunset clause is, right?
No.
Well,
So, and to
In
me,
a way
like I
they
said,
do, in a way they don't, but.
when we had our first discussion about this, at least I missed it, I didn't understand how badly we were behind as far as paying for the stuff that we've gotta pay for anyway. So that was, like I say, and I may have been asleep at the wheel at the study session, but when we talked about that most recently, that was a surprise to me, and that was concerning. So, I don't know how we cannot have this put into place, because otherwise we're just, circling the drain. So, and that is entirely separate from our jail issue. So, which is also, we could definitely use some funding there. So, I guess where
Are we
I'm at
gonna do
right now is.
any type of planning before we try to pass that 1%, like get a committee together or an architect or something like that, and say, well, we'd like to put a jail somewhere, or is that too early to start talking about that?
I mean, I'd say we're not there quite yet.
Okay.
We certainly wanna be ready for that,
Right.
but I think, the pressing matter is the current status quo, separate from the jail, as far as funding our deputies, our jailers, our dispatchers, and all the things that we have to have anyway. And so, in that vein, I would say I'm leaning towards the 1% with no sunset clause.
Now, you've got this at 0.75% though.
That was one of the things on there, you can go up to 1.
The state's attorney just put that on there.
Okay,
It
it
was
can
just-
go up to 1.
It can go up to 1.
Yeah, I can change that to
Okay.
whatever you want.
Dan, you had.
Well, I feel the same way. I don't think we should put a sunset clause in.
I agree.
No, I don't either.
I was watching.
This was your big chance.
Your big moment, your blue.
No, I think y'all know my opinion, even if I do have a cookie in my mouth, so.
Well, but you,
I
respect,
don't
we
think it's
still,
gonna make one difference whether we have it or not, whether it passes or not. That's not gonna be the number one reason why it won't pass,
Something.
right? Because people think of a tax, they think of a sunset clause, and
Sure, I mean,
that'd be that's how I'd feel about it.
it might influence some,
I
right?
heard
So that's
your
why we
opinion,
talked
Tom.
about it, because
Expressed my opinion last time.
if we can make it work,
I
it
don't
would make
remember.
sense to
What
me, but I
was it?
don't think it's workable.
Yeah,
You're being some.
I don't think
If
it's
we vote
worth
on
putting
it,
on a ballot at this
whether
time.
it's 1%,
The whole
whatever.
thing, you're
The
saying.
whole thing. yeah.
So do we need to decide today what
no,
it is?
you can decide on Wednesday.
Whether it's gonna be 1% or what?
3/4, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because we legally can't decide today on any particular issue, because it's
I
not
didn't know whether you had
on
to have
our
something
agenda.
drawn up. Okay, sure.
But this is on the agenda for Wednesday,
Right,
All right.
and that is the last opportunity we have.
unless we have a special meeting,
Right.
But it's gonna be on the agenda, but are we gonna discuss on what's gonna be on the agenda? I mean, we have it on the agenda, but we talked about, we don't want this, and so forth, that'll be discussed on Wednesday.
it'll be part of the resolution, and you fill in the blank on whether, on this one, the resolution, we use simply, I'm assuming that Augie will have a blank,
Yeah.
and then we'll fill in
Okay.
the blank. Is there a blank?
It would be nice to have
The
a
other one.
handle about what you're thinking about putting
Oh,
on
that's
there
essential.
now.
That's what I'm saying.
Which you
So,
can-
Wednesday,
you can
discuss it.
Basically, use that one and just say,
Yeah.
Discuss it now, that's
Nay,
what
or
we're
strike
on.
it.
Yeah.
Striking that portion.
That's the way it should be
I
done.
agree.
So am I assuming then that we're basically at the same place we've been all the way along, that it's basically 5-4 and
I got a question. I've had some people ask me, okay, what is not included in that? For example, like large ticket items like automobiles, and I'm like,
food, beverages,
Food.
large, whatever the standard is. And I have to,
now
we
when you
have
say
to-
food, do you mean groceries?
Groceries.
not prepared food, groceries.
like a
Groceries.
restaurant south of town.
They pay twice.
Yeah.
A can of,
Double.
like, for example, a can of green beans would be considered non-taxable.
Okay.
Right, right.
Now, we're prepared serving of green beans
Okay.
would be taxable.
Okay.
Yeah, like what?
This is the can on the
We
plate
don't have
next to
canned
the.
green beans, I just,
Prime rib.
Yeah, prime
Prime rib with canned green beans.
that'd be $20 more. Yeah.
Well, I think what you need to still, we need to answer is whether we wanna do 1, 3/4, whatever.
Well, we should decide that today, all right? Still
Well,
waiting.
we
for
should
Wednesday.
have some
Some idea.
direction,
Kind of a straw vote.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you 1%, no sunset clause.
well, here's the deal. Yeah, I'm for 1%, no sunset clause.
Even with the retail aspects of it?
Just so you.
It's like building a barn. Every time you build it, it's always too small.
Okay, just,
Yeah.
I
You
wanna ask
can
the
always go
question.
down, but you can't go up without a lot of,
These are from the figure 1% to 1.75% anyway. I mean.
Not really, cause the total sales tax bill is still gonna be the 8.35 or whatever the heck it.
Right.
Right.
I already said 1%, no problem.
That was my idea, Jeff.
Just, Carl,
Uh-oh.
Oh, there we
Now you
go.
gotta speak.
well, you,
Yeah. Well, so this is just, we're putting on the ballot for a public safety tax, and we're not saying with this what we're gonna use it for.
public safety.
Okay, whatever that is, whether we decide to just hire 10 deputies, or if we decide,
To work on the
I
jail.
think it'd be a good idea to let everybody know we're gonna do something with the jail
Yeah,
situation. I
right.
mean, that's,
Number one priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's,
and what are we gonna do with the jail with the money?
We don't know yet, because,
Right.
and I know the idea is that we should probably wait to get it, but we can't even afford an architect to tell us.
And why do we need an architect to tell us?
well, somebody's gonna have to come in and say,
Gotta have some.
Yeah.
if you can, here's what it's gonna
The state
cost
of
to
Illinois
bring this
is-
up to standards. You might go, or you might say, you're better off putting your money into a new building, because you can't begin to bring this one up. I don't know, I'm saying things.
Well, that's not what the Department of Corrections said. He's,
Okay,
Careful. Okay, go ahead.
I'm listening.
I think he made the statement, the sheriff told me, he said, there's no reason why this can't be made to work. And,
Only a certain amount of people, right? Only 18?
no, that's not.
but it
what he
will
said.
take some money to get it to that.
Right.
Right.
That's what we're saying.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
Department of Corrections is not gonna let us continue to just do it piecemeal. Okay?
Correct.
They're gonna, sooner or later, we're gonna have to have somebody tell us how it's
Some
gonna
plan,
do.
a plan.
Okay, all right. And the insurance company, 2 weeks ago, told us if we have I asked specifically the question, if we had a brand new jail today, could we get insurance? No,
Right.
okay. And in the conversation, I told him what the Department of Corrections had said, and about the facility, and I told him that they feel like that it can be made to pass their inspection. And he said, you mean on the new part? And I said, no. He said, the old part. Said, really? So, this, I mean, the perception of the public is, because it hasn't been portrayed in the news media, that the whole problem is the old jail. And that is not the case. You know, specifically, the insurance guy said 10% of it might be the facility, but it's the administration.
Right. We've been saying that
Yeah.
here at these meetings.
Well, but.
Which hasn't made the newspaper very
Right.
much.
Exactly.
I'm
Or
sorry,
the
it's been-
TV, you know, when I turned the TV on, they said, you know, the 125-year-old facility, that's not the problem.
Right.
It's the administration, the poor management of the facility, poor management of the people, lack of training, no accountability by the leadership, no leadership. That's the problem,
Right.
why we're in this situation, you know.
We talked about that for years. And hadn't been right.
Yeah.
I will say that we're in full agreement, obviously, on what
I think the whole
problem
board
is.
is.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There should be no question about that.
Right.
But because of what has happened with the administration, there are things that we're going with generally hearsay about as far as what it will look like when we reinstate the jail, right? So there's a
that
lot
ever
of
comes.
variables out there,
Right,
right?
right.
I'm confident that we'll have a jail, right? But there are
Yeah.
any number of things that I would prefer to have the funding to be nimble on because there are things out there, just like this whole process, there's so many things that we think is gonna happen one way and it swings the other, right?
Exactly.
And as we go into basically start a new jail, is what this is going to amount to, right? I mean, in many respects, as we do that, we may come across something that is a hurdle we can't cross, and we get stuck in the status quo for a year or more.
Right.
So that combined with the budgetary concerns prior to this whole debacle are reasons why I think we need the safety tax. Right?
Yeah.
And
As
frankly,
bad as I hate a tax, I see, because we don't have enough money, I mean, we're just getting by, just
Right.
skimming by on everything.
We've been down.
I mean,
about
we're having trouble.
And
with
we've
deputies.
worked our ass off trying to, but. it
Carl
won't
and I are in
happen.
perfect agreement there. I
Right.
mean, it's
Yeah.
just,
You're squeezing the turnip about as hard as you can
Right.
squeeze
Yeah.
it.
So I realize we need more money for the future. I mean, I'm not denying that.
see, I have a problem with the 1%.
I do
Okay.
too.
I think, quite frankly, and I passed around this thing and I'll show it to Gary.
Right.
I think we'd be much, I'm concerned about our retailers. Okay, I'm concerned about the total amount of, Gary, I'll get it to you here in a minute. At any rate, I'm concerned that, you know, the city of Paris put on 3/4. I think
They
that
put on half. Was theirs 3/4 or was it half?
3/4.
Was it three? Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, you may be, it was
I think
one
it's
of the,
high.
at any rate, I'm trying to think what, look at the amount of money and I'm thinking that, you know, I'm happy with, I don't wanna degrade a car, but I don't need a Cadillac. I need what I can work with, and I think we could work with 3/4%. That's my thought.
well, I mean, you're
And
a party
I-
guy, so if you think that those numbers work,
Well, I'm not
I'm all for it.
guaranteeing that.
that's
We're
what I
not
heard.
supposed
I
to-
heard guarantee.
We're not supposed to operate this thing and go, hey, gosh, we have $150,000 left every year. Our job is to make this thing work with what we have. I think we've reached a point where we have to say we need some more money here in order to offer flexibility, to not just a short-term jail problem.
Right.
We wanna make sure that we fixed it so it can operate for another 10 or 15 years or 20 years.
Yeah, 20.
So that the board in 10 years doesn't go, why the hell didn't they do something about that 10 years ago, like we're saying right now?
Mhm.
I mean, you know how hard we
Yeah.
squeeze to put deputies on the road right now. It's tough. And have we got enough? At times, it's sketchy whether we got enough. Don't you agree? It's tough.
Well, part of it's management.
Well, you're right.
Well,
200,000 in overtime.
know.
You start looking at things.
Well, and that's a very good question, right? We know the status quo. I don't know that we would just be comfortably in the black with the best management schedule.
True.
and we haven't been, I mean, we have times where we've had, 7 deputies and, with Carl though, you don't keep hiring them and think it's gonna get better and better.
Right.
I mean, management at some point has to kick in and say, look, we're not gonna, in extremely professional negotiations is something we need to look at here in the next year or so. So, and I'm not knocking the union, I'm not anti-union, I just think we need to work together and we need to make a better case on how we can operate for the future. Okay?
But, also I hear from the public, the taxes are so high here in Edgar County, no one wants to come to live in Edgar County because taxes are high. Here we're adding another 1 cent potentially, which will bring in $1 million to extra $1 million, but, I would at some point, I brought this up last time, I would like to see some property tax relief if possible. If we go this, we can't guarantee that,
We did
but
last time.
Yeah,
we're maxed out.
we're maxed
I
out.
know, but
We haven't
took off
looked.
an
We
ambulance
took the
side.
ambulance
Oh.
levy.
I guess I'm looking at,
And those are all, but I mean, and
Yeah.
that's,
that was your property tax, it went down.
$24.
And they are separate taxes, right? No one
Yes.
is saying, I don't live in Edgar County because the sales tax is too high, even if.
Well,
it's
no,
higher.
just the overall taxes.
Right,
But if you go to Champaign, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
right, and to
Right.
me, that's a small bonus. However, there are lots of people that work here that don't live here.
exactly.
That are
And that's
paying
why
into
this is
that.
a fairer tax
I
to
agree.
the taxpayers of Edgar County. I totally agree with that. And I've heard that from a lot of people.
And most of the folks are at least willing to listen and support it because of that reason.
Right.
And we can't promise them in 3 years we're gonna lower property tax. But I sure as hell think we ought to take a hard look at what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. So,
I don't know, I'm just giving you my thoughts.
my
1%
1%, I'm not comfortable with that. I mean, I'm not really comfortable with 3/4, but, you know, I'm swallowing it
Can you
better.
start .75 and go up to
No,
1?
but you can start one and go back down to
Right,
0.75.
which is, I guess, my concern, right, is, you know, I mean, I'm leaning on you as far as
Right.
what we need and what helps us and can get us by, right? And if you feel that that .75 answers the mail and all of that, then
I
I'm
agree.
willing to go with that. However, you know, this is your shot, right? And then there's any number of things to consider, right? So .75 is more palatable than 1, right? Is someone that's gonna vote for .75 not gonna vote for 1? Like, that's part of the consideration matrix we're in.
That's where I'm at, I don't know the answer
And,
to
you
that
know,
question.
does that extra 1/4% put undue pressure on our retailers? I didn't really factor that in, but I mean, maybe that's a concern, you know?
That's why I voiced that, because I know like with the jail over in Terre Haute, they had found a way to fund their new jail through property tax,
Right.
as
But
opposed
And
to
they,
sales
they
tax.
actually
Their
passed,
property
well,
taxes
they're
anyway.
structured differently than we
Right.
are. They
And
actually
completely
passed a
different.
school tax at the same time,
Yeah.
and that was, what was it, 0.16 something percent, per $100 sales.
Have other taxes besides that.
No, I understand, I'm just,
They upped their
I know, but they
property
are
tax considerably.
close.
Right.
I don't think we have to worry about competing with Champaign,
No.
but Terre Haute is certainly a factor.
Mhm.
And we don't wanna disadvantage our folks here, I mean, any more than, it has to be calculated. is
So
what
you
I'm
think
saying.
.75 is sufficient,
Yeah,
Jeff?
I do,
Well, that's
unless
fine
we're
with
gonna,
me. Whatever
unless
you
we're gonna
think.
build a brand new jail,
Well, now,
and then it would be,
My concern is with the old gym, is it possible to open, what are the implications of trying to open the upstairs?
Right, I was gonna ask
Because-
that question too.
You've gotta have a separate area for women from the men. So that's upstairs and downstairs. Now, the way that, and you know more about it than I do, it's always my understanding is really expensive. You've gotta have somebody upstairs? Is that
What do you mean?
a jailer?
A jailer.
I mean, you've gotta have one on each floor?
No,
No?
you just have to have, if you have a second floor, you have to have an additional person after you have so many inmates. I don't know exactly what that is.
25.
Yeah, but from
No, that's
what
jail.
we're getting from the DOC is we're gonna have 2 on every shift anyway.
Anyway.
Right,
Right.
And that's gonna be very expensive.
especially if we have to ship prisoners out because we can't deal with the criteria. That's one of the main things where I'm at on justifying this.
Do they work
The
12
sales
or 8
tax.
shifts?
Pardon?
Jailers, 12 or 8 hour shifts?
8-hour shifts.
Well, it may be that we have to expand the footprint of the jail to allow women and have a staffing solution that works for us. right?
Numbers wise, I'm not sure that we ever want to mess with bringing women back. Just because, I mean, you know, the staffing needs,
I've been in there when there's
And needing the
5 to
females.
5 to 6.
yeah,
Isn't there?
and sometimes there's none.
Sure.
I mean,
That's part of good jail administration.
yeah,
And I think at some point, they're gonna have to make a recommendation. That's also something that you ask an engineer or architect.
Right.
Is
Mhm.
and they gotta look at the demographics of our community.
Right.
And what
It's about
we
50% women.
How do you know?
You're welcome.
Don't send us a bill.
Well, and you know, talking about that, you know, they done a lot of studies over in Vigo County when they were
Oh, yeah,
doing
yeah.
this, you know, looking at alternatives to incarceration, you know,
Right.
counseling and,
Right.
you know, there's just a lot of
They still
variables
transfer about 100 out or something like that right now.
right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so.
I appreciate it, Carl, thank you. John, you're still pretty much where you're at, aren't you?
I'm still pretty much where I'm at.
No, and that's fine.
No, that's, yeah.
It is what it is.
But I have to agree, I think I know where you're coming from. And I've stated this before, as far as I'm concerned, we probably should get our ducks in the row, the sheriff get his ducks in the row before we start going to the public to show that we're capable of doing this. That's just my big thing.
And the answer to that is, that puts it off basically years. And how are we gonna afford it in the meantime?
I agree.
So,
But I
I
mean, that's something.
understand that argument. I mean,
But, you know, that's something out there, the public can consider that, you know, say, well, I don't know, why would I wanna pass a tax when they're gonna squander all the money and can't run what they're doing now?
well, that's
So, I mean, that's a decision for the public to make.
Well, and if you're talking about reality, I mean, we're all around here saying that we could use it even with what we have done, what we have in place, things are moving in the right direction, we
Correct.
still need that extra money to make.
If we get things in place and we're gonna need the money to operate, I agree.
And like I said, the variables we don't know, we don't know.
We've already moved the dial because the insurance company originally said they would never consider opening.
We're headed
this
in the
jail.
right direction at this point in time.
Right, and I think we have proved some things.
Yes.
I mean, it's not perfect,
Right.
but we're proving, and this is a plan,
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
and I feel it's moved a lot, the needle's moved quite a bit.
And I'm hoping that the old jail will eventually be, we never thought the other would happen, and eventually, I think as we continue to prove ourselves, then some of Carl's concerns and wishes will happen also. Or all of ours, but the ones that Carl speaks about. So. Well, think about it, pray about it.
Make a decision about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, like I said, if 0.75 is what,
So we decided what we're gonna do on Wednesday then?
That's
Well,
what we're figuring out now.
not 100%, I don't,
Like I said,
Sounds like
I
everybody's
said,
leaning
I'm
to
for it.
0.75.
Yeah.
with no-
Well, if you guys
we
think
can always
of
go
one-
back down, you can't go back up, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And
I'm just
if,
voicing my concern.
at this point, we don't know what an architect would come in and say, you can fix this up, or I wouldn't spend the money on it. And if, you know, I would
That's the-
leave that up to someone, and if he says, you know, I wouldn't spend the money on it, now, where do you go?
I mean, I guess what I'm getting from you and my concern is 0.75 is better than 0.
Sometimes better than 0. So you're, yeah.
Meaning it wouldn't pass.
What do you think? I mean, to me, you're gonna 0.75, another,
Yeah.
To me, it wouldn't make.
I
to
don't
me, it wouldn't make that much difference.
I wouldn't think so either, but
And like I said, I'd be pretty fucking pissed. I was sitting here a year from now, and we're 0.25% short.
Sure,
you're right, that's
You
my
know.
fault.
we can always go one way, you can't go the other way, that's my consideration. Not that I want
What?
to pass any tax,
Where?
but
And I should know this. We've
Yeah,
said
needs.
before. Where does Edgar County stand
in relation
specifically
to other
Paris
counties,
to Marshall, Terre Haute? Where are we at currently? Do we know that?
In taxes
Yes,
or?
sales tax.
Sales tax.
I think, isn't, Terre Haute at 8?
I'll tell you.
You can look at, I looked it up once.
Yeah, I did too, but
I think if we put 1%, we're gonna be up towards the top in the state, I think.
Well, that's important to know too.
Yeah, there's
I
a
mean,
lot
not
of shopping
the top,
options
but
within
in
the
general,
country,
we're gonna
right?
be above, way above, we're gonna be above average.
Not a good place to be above average.
7%.
That's Terre Haute.
The minimum combined.
Marshall 725.
What are we currently?
725, except in the city,
What is it in this?
775. It is 0.5%. What's
So
Champaign?
if we go 1%, we'd be 1.5 cent higher than Marshall.
Champagne, last I knew, was 825, but I don't know if
How'd they
I'm correct.
build their new jail?
Pardon?
How did they build their new jail?
Clark County,
So,
with assistance of the public safety.
9.
Okay.
John.
And that's how they run
Is it
it.
9 now?
Right.
They run their entire organization. on
You know, I hate to say it, I can drive to Champaign faster than I can Terre Haute by shopping Terre Haute for that 2% difference.
And that vehicle you got,
yeah, I
So,
wouldn't let that interfere with what I wanna do.
so Terre Haute 7, not 8?
It's 7%.
I mean, all through it?
Well,
they raise their property tax.
Yeah.
They have other taxes besides that.
I don't even think about that when I shop. Well,
I don't either. I don't think
where I have to pay, I'll pay it.
too many people think about it when they shop. Before you go to a restaurant, they can afford to pay another 0.25% on their food bill.
Well, yeah, I mean, the
Except for
fact that it's
prime
not
rib
groceries,
at
that's
Andy's.
important.
I don't 7%. I'm not ready for it, what I think.
I don't
Well,
know
it's
if that
something
would-
to,
I can afford it, so can you.
Night shopping.
Have a different topic. I need to make some-
Yeah. It's okay, man. We got more from these guys, so it's all right.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I like it. It'd have to be longer for me. Get rid of this.
Who decides on the marijuana law that goes into effect on January 1st? We do or city?
What? You mean on what part of it?
Are we gonna allow it or not allow it?
Secretary Sean is in charge of that.
We have no say in whether,
I just wondered,
no, we can say about whether there's a tax on it here.
okay.
I can open up a shop and sell all the kids on the bus, they all use that shit, got a lot of money.
What, marijuana?
I suppose some people are thinking that that's, I don't know, I bet you it doesn't make an ounce of difference. So that's, I just think those people who do that or involved with it will it'll still be, just be easier to get them, that's all, I don't think.
All right, well,
Being influx
Cook
on it.
County's 10.25.
Champagne's where,
Not the shirt.
9.
9?
What do you think about it? Is it 9?
That's
That's what Jared said.
Like it's all about two
There
pairs.
you go.
10.25.
Jesus.
Where?
Scholarship, Cook County.
Cook County.
Yeah, but that doesn't include anything. If you stay at a hotel, we've got another
Yeah, right.
$20, then you gotta pay
You wouldn't believe it.
75 to 95 bucks to park your car overnight.
It that
Hell, it
pill-
costs you more to park your car than to stay in the hotel long.
What's Springfield?
Springfield?
Then we can,
Boy, it's unbelievable. You get your bill, you think you're gonna pay $100 for a room.
oh, yeah.
And then by the time you get down to the bottom, it's $280
Yeah.
or whatever.
Like buying a plane ticket.
That's why I paid by the hour for my rooms.
Is there any other tax we need to deal
Sleep
with?
my car.
So you buy them,
Springfield.
it's pitiful.
Sleep in my car.
It's
I've done
9.7.
that.
9.75, I know Decatur's up there,
It's
but
no fun in
that doesn't
January.
make it right for us to be.
Well, ours not that bad.
No, but it gives you more justification to doing what you're doing, I guess. I don't know.
All right, well, are we gonna be able to straw vote a percentage? Or
Would
where
you-
are you guys at?
I'm still 1%.
I'm a one with the ability to go down if we need to.
That's,
Once-
I
once you
think
start
that's the
spending-
key issue there, once you get, that's the reason I would go with one.
Do we know that for a certainty? That's a.
No, I'm gonna have to double check that to make
Okay.
sure it's.
Okay,
All right.
I'm on that page.
All right.
Because there's just so many variables, we don't know what it's gonna cost.
That's my point.
And it's, anybody who's built a house knows the situation. Say it's gonna cost this much and it always goes, it's always more.
Anything else to come before the meeting this morning?
I pay more for prime rib.
Prime rib's going up, look.
Just don't get the
Motion
green
to
beans.
adjourn,
So moved.
Dan moves,
Second.
Derek seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
If they'll come over, I'll feed you black market prime rib with no sales
I was
tax on
gonna
it.
say, yeah,